A young man who several years ago in Impact Repertory Theater, there was a group of young men who were going to pledge, and my godson Steve Dewson and Jad Joseph and all those guys, they're going to pledge, and they were like, they wanted this dude to pledge with them, and they was like, oh, great, y'all, we want him to pledge with us, but he said he don't want to pledge, you know, ask him to pledge with us. And I said, yo man, I heard you don't want to pledge. He said, nope. I said, all right, good for you, because he wasn't ready. But he came when he was ready, and he's been a dynamic and fantastic brother ever since. And so there's a lot of challenges going on YouTube and Facebook. Right? There's the ice challenge, there's the fire challenge, which is strict stupidity. Right, but it really makes perfect sense. So listen. That was hot. So here's what I want to challenge. I want to challenge you brothers and all the other brothers that are still in high school today. I want to challenge you to be like this brother that I'm going to bring up. Instead of doing anything that would land him in jail, he landed in Yale. All right. Instead of doing anything that would guide him to the state penitentiary, he ended up going to Michigan State for the Masters. So I want to bring up your director of deans, your keynote speaker, Vernon James.
Thank you, brothers. It is my honor and privilege to be here with you tonight to deliver this keynote address, and it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you for letting me know that now. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with these young men over the past 7, almost 8 months at this point. And so, as we are all in this room, we have Tap Out is one of those events that brings together more brothers than any other event throughout the year. And so, as we are all together in this room, I thought it would be good for us to take an opportunity to reflect. And so to start this reflection, I wanted to share the preamble to our Constitution, which reads as follows. The young men of the nation are the bulwark of the future. We believe that the development of strong character and good moral judgment is essential to the type of bulwark this nation needs to march ever forward. Toward this goal, the Order of the Feather Fraternity is dedicated. And so what I would like us to do, we give that some round of applause.
Yeah.
Because that's the mission that guides what we do. And so to get us started on that reflection, I'm going to ask you to take a moment and turn to someone who's sitting next to you. I would like you to discuss 2 questions. The first question is, what is a bulwark? And then the second question is, what does it take for young men to be the bulwark in today's society? So what is a bulwark, and what does it take to be the bulwark? Turn and talk to a partner.
What is a bulwark? What is a bulwark? What is a bulwark?
Great. So we just have 3 people who can share out what they talked about. 3. I'm looking for 3. If you're ready, jump up.
Wow. Remember that name. Tell them what it means. Oh, no, not yet. What we talked about, my brother Bobby Riggs, 72 by the way, is that the bulwark is somewhat of a protection to protect which is our community. And from my understanding, and this is things that I learned from pledging all the way up to after pledging, being a youth advocate, servicing the youth of 16 to 24. And what these kids have to go through, especially in today's internet, which has negativity, hate, drama, drugs, sex going through mass communications. So not only do they have to go through this in their own homes, their own communities, they got to go through the internet. Because come Friday, they spend the weekend and come back on Monday to school, and that's the hot topic, whatever it is, whatever challenge it is, who got knocked out, what's on World Star Hip Hop. These things is destroying our community, and we need to become that bulwark of the future to make sure that we simplify that, bring that down from 10 to 0.
How?
One or two more. This is our mission. This is what we do. So everybody should be ready to share out. Omar, I saw your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to share? Yeah. So, go. Sure.
I'm gonna follow Brother Roland said. A bulwark is I would say it's more of a shield, it's more of a leading, it's your first line, first, last, and only line of protection when it comes to anything that's Swiss trying to protect. That's what I would say bulwark is.
Great. So it is absolutely right. So a bulwark is a wall. If you didn't know that, make sure that you hold on to that. A bulwark is a wall. Other words you could use are a rampart, a fortification, or a barricade. And so when I took over the position of Director of Deans and I sat down to think about our mission and what I should be doing, I thought about what it takes to build that bulwark. And I understood our mission as meaning that our goal is to prepare young men to be the walls that defends our community.
How?
And so then I sat down and I started to think about my 10 years in the feather and whether or not we should. And so I looked at what the preamble says, and it says that we build within men strong character. When I think of strong character, words that come to mind are persistence, resilience, grit, zest, tenacity. And so I thought about those things, and I think the pledge process teaches those things, right? If you can pledge a feather, you can do anything. That's what we say. And so the strong character was there. And then I looked at the moral judgment. Things that came to mind were honesty, trustworthiness, responsibility. And I think we teach those things. You hear them all through the aspirations. You hear them all through the 5 trails. And so that was there. And so then I thought back to almost 70 years ago when I wasn't alive, to when the organization was founded. And times were really different then than they are now, just like Brother Rolite alluded to. And so I thought, how is our world today different now than it was for our founders and the brothers who came up in the 60s and the 70s? And I thought of all of the brothers in our fraternity who really have exemplified being the bulwark over the last 60-something years our fraternity has been around. And so the brothers that came to mind who I really thought about as I was designing this year's process included Mike Hachette, Scotty Holmes, Avon Morgan, Jamal Joseph, Uriel Charles, Keith Rivers, Leslie Gray, Victor Fleming, Courtney Bennett, David Jenkins, Lee Winley, Raymond Johnson, George Lucas, Charles Smith, Jamel Nelson, Nathan Ford. Those are the brothers who, in my mind, through my experience, exemplified what it meant to be the bulwark. If I just call your name, I know there are many that I left out, but if I called your name, could you please just stand for one moment? Thank you, brothers. These brothers, in my opinion, they're not the only ones, but they, over the years, through the decades, have exemplified what it means to be the bulwark. And so I thought about what makes them different. And of course, they have the strong character, they have the good judgment, but what I think makes them different is that they were able to find professional success. In whatever they did, they were able to find a way to navigate the world in which we live, in which we work. They were able to gain access to the culture of power. They were able to find resources, to have access to people. They have been able to give back to our fraternity and to our community at a high level for years because of what they've been able to accomplish outside of the fraternity. So, when I became Director of Deans, I sat down and I thought about how we could enhance the process to honor the things that we already do well, but also begin to lay within these young men the skills that they would need to be able to find the professional success that all of those brothers have found that I named previously. And so in January, after all of the deans had been elected, we sat down and we brainstormed and we drafted a 28-week program. We left in all of the things that the Feather already does that we thought were important to build the character and to build the judgment. And we added a lot. And our goal was to be able to give these young men professional skills at a consistently high level across all 4 of the chapters. And I think a lot of good things came as a result of that shift that we made, and I'll share 3 in particular. The first is that because we were all on the same page, we had a common vision for what we wanted to accomplish. These deans talked on the phone every single week for 28 weeks. They were implementing the same lessons down to the week, using the same materials, making sure that we were able to plan together, brainstorm together, troubleshoot together to provide as high quality of a program as possible for these young men. The second thing is that the focus on professional skills allowed us to create more opportunities for brothers to interact with the Pledge Club. So we put out calls to all of the brothers. We said, these are the workshops that we want to do, and we need you to come and lead these workshops. And so brothers came in and led workshops on resume writing, on cover letter writing, on interview skills, on the college application process, on the college financial aid process, on all of the skills that we thought the young men would need in order to be able to find success. And then lastly, it created more opportunities than ever for the Plainsmen to be with each other across chapters. So in addition to the things we already did across chapters, such as the Plainsman Oath and Brotherhood Weekend, we were able to get the Plainsmen together once in every chapter with the goal of having one of these professional workshops. So those 3 things were a standard curriculum, more opportunities for brother Plainsman interaction, and more opportunity for cross-chapter Plainsman interaction. So if you were a dean who helped those 3 things come to fruition this year, could you please stand for just one moment? So all deans, including assistant and associate deans. So a lot of good things came out of me revisiting our mission back in November. And as this process is winding down, I've had the privilege of sitting directly under the feather, and I've been looking at it, waiting for it to drop. And I've been thinking about whether or not we've been successful as a dean staff and as a fraternity in preparing these young men to be the bulwark of the future. And the answer is, I don't know. And the reason that I don't know is because I don't think we're going to know for several more years. Sam, can you stand up, please? Sam. Sam is the Brooklyn line president. He is our oldest Plainsman this year. Sam is going to be a rising senior this year. And so that means that Sam has 1 more year of high school. He has 4 more years of college. So that's 5 years before Sam enters the workforce full time and before we find out whether or not he really has the professional skills to succeed. Jarrell, can you stand up, please? Jarrell is our youngest Plainsman this year. He's going into the 7th grade this fall. So that means he has 2 years of middle school, 4 of high school, and 4 of college. That's 10 years before Jarrell enters the workforce, and we find out if he truly has the skills that he needs. Thank you, gentlemen. And so, the reason that we don't... So the reason that we don't have the answer is because even though tonight the feather drops and this year's pledge cycle ends, we don't have the answer because there's still a lot more work to do.
Amen.
We have a minimum of 5 years, 5 to 10 years, to work with this particular group of young men to get them ready to be the bulwark that this nation needs to march ever forward. And so what does that mean for us now? I have a couple of charges for us tonight. The first is for our deans, who have worked tirelessly over the past 8 months to implement an awesome pledge process. Your charge is to continue the work that you have done to show the high level of dedication that you have shown through the end of your tenure, which is only a few more months. To implement a post-initiate program for these young men, to keep them engaged, to continue to teach them what it means to be a featherman, and to continue to build within them the skills, the character, and the judgment that they will need to be the bulwark. My second charge is for the fraternity, and this is the most important. If these deans end their tenure in October, that means that the large majority of those 5 to 10 years of work that we have left to do is work for you to do, not work for the deans. It's work for the Harlem chapter, for the Brooklyn chapter, the Queens chapter, and the Bronx chapter. And so I'm asking brothers in leadership, brothers who are not in positions of leadership, to step up and be ready to take on this work.
How?
We need to implement a mentoring structure that's going to prepare our young men to be the bulwark. We need to design the programs that are going to keep them engaged and continue to build within them the skills that they need. We have to gather the resources that they're going to need to be able to go to and pay for competitive colleges. We need to help them find jobs. We need to continue to be role models. We have to be the foundation on which this wall is built.
Amen. Put your hands together. Yes. Amen.
And so, as we always tell the young men when they cross the burning sands, we tell them that the hardest part is over and the work starts now. When the feather drops, the same is true for you. The work starts now.
Yes. How?
And so I'm hoping that the energy that we've had this entire weekend will carry back to us, to our respective chapters, and we'll be able to take up that charge.
Yes.
And my last charge is for you. The 2014 Plainsman Club. It has been a privilege and an honor to work with you. Your deans are going to do their best to support you. The fraternity is going to do our best to support you. But ultimately, if you're going to become the bulwark that we need, that is up to you. And so when the feather drops, it's not just the end of the process, it's the start of your real work. You have to take forward everything that you've learned, every poem, every aspiration, the 5 trails. Take all of that with you and live by it every day, not just because your dean is telling you to. Continue to work just as hard as you have as a member of the organization, and make sure that you're becoming the foundation on which the 2015 Pledge Club and every line behind you can stand on. And so, my brothers, it's been a privilege and an honor to serve in this position. I hope you are proud of the work that the Dean staff has done and proud of the young men who will be our brothers in just a few moments. I encourage you to take up this charge and look forward to all that we will accomplish in all of our future years. Please follow the gleam.